This video goes over the lead to call automation, so you can post web leads to TrackDrive and we'll turn them into phone calls for you, or you can just upload some leads and we'll dial an SMS and email them until we can turn them into a call. So I'm going to click here on the scheduler and leads and I create a schedule. Now I'm going to do this one for the student loan consolidation. And pick the right offer here. Now the cool thing about our scheduler is that the scheduler is going to be set up on the same offer that your normal inbound calls are coming in on. So our scheduler can be throttled to go faster or slower depending on what's happening with your other marketing efforts. So I'm going to do my dialer settings. I'm going to go ahead and pick that I'm going to dial with my Plevo number. You can dial with either or. TrackDrive doesn't actually dial using their platforms. You have to have the caller ID in place. We don't let you use TrackDrive numbers for calling outbound for obvious reasons. We don't want to have someone do something really bad and then our upstream shut us down completely because of some huge lawsuit from something that someone else is doing beyond our control. So we have you get your own Plevo or Twilio, Zadarma, any VoIP provider you can use. Import those numbers into our system or link Plevo or Twilio is how you do that. Then you can pick any number to use as the dialing. We are definitely just dialing with that caller ID. The incoming calls, when they call back or call from SMS or from email, will go through Plevo to us, so only the inbound calls will happen through this number. All the outbound dialing is going to be on our system. That way we don't have to try to match up throttling between TrackDrive and Plevo and whatnot, because they'll only allow you to initiate so many calls per second, and if we want to give you more, we'd have to coordinate with them and get permission to have them allow us to dial faster, and that's quite painful. So it's much better when we do all the dialing for you, and then we can throttle you to whatever we want to allow for calls initiated per second. Now for SMS, it's highly recommended that you use Twilio. They do a much better job of delivery than does Plevo. Very, very good. It's also highly recommended that you use a pool of numbers, so maybe 10, 20, 30 toll-free numbers, and we'll send the SMSs rotating through those. The more numbers you have, the better delivery you're going to have. For this video, I'm just going to say no, I don't want to, and pick a single number, and I'm just going to grab this Twilio number here. Okay, so that's SMS settings. If you're going to be sending emails as part of your schedule, then you'd key in your SMTP information here. Most people will probably opt to use something like vertical response or constant contact or the one with the monkey, I forget, MailChimp, any of those things, and we're going to do some deep integrations with those eventually, but for now you could actually start the mail drip from their systems just by posting on a webhook from the schedule here. So we already handle being able to start a schedule. Now for emailing, I personally would only send an email to do one response depending on the step I am in the schedule, and then at the end of the schedule perhaps start a mail drip campaign. You can do whatever you want. You could send an email to them right away and start a drip and work with that and just let them stop whenever they want to stop. But in my opinion, I would do a single email for each step of the schedule when I'm trying to contact them, and then start another mail drip campaign through my ESP based on what happened, on this lead. So you can work it that way. So you just put in your SMTP settings if you're going to use your own server to send the emails. The business hours are when we're going to do anything. So if you limit the hours, we won't even send SMS or emails unless it's between the hours you tell us to do so. If you do set the system to run 24/7, it will not do outbound calls outside the acceptable telemarketing hours of operation. Okay. If you do choose specific days and hours, just like anywhere else in our system, you'll drag the times that you want the system to be doing things. And then the rate limits allow you to say, when I'm doing form post from your website to our system, how many leads should we accept from each IP address in case someone is trying to flame you with bad data. We can start blocking them. They think they're getting data through and we're just blocking it. So you could do 1 per IP, 2 per IP in a day or an hour, whatever you want to set these to. So that's the setup there. Now here's what's going to happen. There's two sections here. What happens while we're trying to contact the consumer, and then down here is what happens at the end of the schedule. You can hit the end of the schedule either by taking all the actions and we never get the consumer on the line, or there's an action here to end the schedule when they connect to a buyer or when we dial a buyer. So we can kill the schedule for this lead on either of those two triggers. Normally you say when they connect to a buyer, we'll call that we've contacted them and let that lead die in the schedule. Okay, so here's a typical thing someone might do. You may send them an email right away, and if I was going to use a third-party system, for now you'd use a webhook. Eventually you will see integrations to other ESPs so that you can start a schedule or start a drip campaign. But if I'm trying to send an email right away, I'd send a webhook to MailChimp or whatever. That'll start the drip or do the individual email that I tell it to do. Or I can send an email from my own SMTP, or I can send an SMS saying thanks. What I like to do is this though. I'm going to come in here and say wait for something to happen before I continue. So let's say the person is filling this form out in the middle of the night. I'm going to tell the system to wait until there's a buyer open, then send the guy an SMS. So my next step is I'm going to send a text, add that action. Now if you get your actions out of order, no big deal, just drag them wherever you want them to be. So I can just drag around here and put my actions in the right order. So a lead comes into the system, I'm going to tell it to wait for an available buyer, then I'm going to send a text, something like thanks for calling. We are calling, or thanks for the lead, whatever. Thanks for your interest in the student loan consolidation program. We will be, 888, whatever the number is I had for calling them, which was 877 724-3192 in 90 seconds. Please answer that call. Now we will put the automatic footer in there that says respond with stop to stop. That will kill the schedule. If someone tells you to stop texting them, we assume that means they're not really trying to get contacted at all, and we'll end the schedule. And then I'm going to put in a little delay because I told them we'd call them in 90 seconds, so I'm just going to wait 90 seconds here. And then, oops, it was scrolling when I tried to go up here. Then I'm going to go ahead and tell it to go ahead and do a dial. Just dial the customer. So we're going to go ahead and dial them. Now down here I can also say, you know what, let's wait for a buyer to be available, because maybe if you have enough incoming calls, all the buyers got busy, so we don't want to dial and have the person go into a hold queue. So we're going to tell them to hold, just go ahead and wait till the buyer's available. I can also say wait until a buyer could convert. In that situation, I might have a buyer available, but this buyer already got that call, or he doesn't take the, for whatever reason, I want to make sure that the buyer can convert. And then I can limit when I'm going to call based on how many people are already on hold, which I wouldn't do it that way. I would say only dial when my CC, the total CC, is at a certain percentage. So I'm letting a whole bunch of inbound calls come in. I have 100 max CC for all my buyers combined. I'm already at 90 calls concurrently happening right now. I don't want to have the dialer kicking out and dialing some more, because I'm going to probably throw people into a hold queue eventually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, when the CC percentage is 75% or more, or less, then I can use the scheduler. Otherwise, just sit here and wait for the CCs to drop a little bit. Because what will happen is, as you don't have enough calls going for your buyers, the scheduler will kick in to supplement what your incoming calls have going on. And then normally you would go ahead and repeat these type things. Wait 3 hours, send them another text, call them again 90 seconds later, they don't answer, wait 2 hours, call them, wait 2 hours, call them. You get the gist here of what's going on. Now down here at the bottom, when we end the schedule, I'd usually say in the schedule when the lead is connected to a buyer. That will just end the schedule. Now you don't have to do anything at the end of the schedule, but you could do any of these things. Wait, send an email somewhere, send a text message somewhere, or do a webhook. Let's say I had someone that was going to buy my leads that didn't connect to a buyer. So the ones that convert, I'm going to go ahead and let those not send the data to someone else, or I could send the data to everybody. But I would just come in here to filters, and I'd say if the buyer didn't convert, then go ahead and send this webhook to somewhere, and I just put the string in here to send the data, probably through a post, but send the data to that buyer. You can send it via post, XML, get, or whatever. Depends on the person you're trying to send the data to. But I could say at the end of this schedule, if it didn't convert, go ahead and post the data somewhere. I could also say, I don't care. I'm going to send all the data to a call center, even though a buyer answered. It all depends on your strategy for your business. Let me go ahead and delete this off of here. And then that's how the scheduler works. So I can go ahead and create the schedule. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. Okay, create the schedule. Now how do you get leads into the schedule? One way is just submit leads in bulk. So I could just come in here and do the student loan consolidation schedule, and then I just copy and paste data from a CSV file. You do need to have this header and this field at least, caller ID. Now you can have the +1 or just the 1. I always do the +1 just to make sure, and the caller ID. But you can send other data: email, first name, loan amount, type of debt, whatever. You send all these fields. Whatever you send to us, we'll store that data. If you're going to try to email someone, obviously we need an email address. But you can just copy and paste all the data right here, hit submit. We'll import all those leads. I think the max might be 20,000 leads at a time, but I can get back with people on questions on that. The other way to get data to our system is by using the API documentation. So I'm already there, but let me show you how I would do that normally. I'm going to go ahead back to my... I'm going to just go through here, sorry. I'm going to go through here and do API documentation. So I go to my profile. I skip down to the API documentation. I scroll down to leads. And this gives me information on how to post. Now the token you need to put in there, you can use the word lead token right here. In our example, we said schedule lead token. Originally, our system made you say whether you're trying to send a lead to an offer by using the offer lead token, or to a scheduler by using the schedule lead token. And then we added, let's just do lead token and we'll figure it out ourselves. So you can easily just use lead token here and put in your token. Now where do you get those tokens? That's going to be for the offer. If you click on view tokens, the lead token, and if you post leads to our system to the offer just as a lead, all that does is when a call comes in, if we match the caller ID to the offer that you have running that has leads, it'll pick up all the data on that inbound call. Okay. Now the scheduler token is going to be under the scheduler, and that's just going to be the schedule token. So you can send either of those, either in lead token or explicitly as offer lead token if you just send us leads, or schedule lead token. And then it's pretty simple to do an HTTP post from your website. You just initiate a curl to send us the data. Again, the important stuff is the token and that you have the caller ID. Everything else is optional. You can send the email address if you're going to send emails, but then you send whatever you want. All the rest of the data, as much as you want, we'll pick up every single thing you send to us as data for the schedule or for the lead system. So that's how our scheduler works. I hope that you enjoyed this video.